greed, for lack of a better word, is good.
Greed is good. 3 words that would travel across an ocean, through decades of time, and into the bedroom of a teenager in London who would use them to crash the entire world economy in 5 minutes. The boy was watching a movie called Wall Street. He had no idea that the villain on screen was based on real criminals who had nearly destroyed America's financial system just years before. He had no idea that those 3 words would become his religion, his obsession, his downfall. His name was Navinder Singh Saro. And this is the story of how a movie about greed created a monster who would prove that in the digital age, anyone with a computer can bring Wall Street to its knees. But first, you need to understand the real story behind that movie. Because what happened in the 1980s wasn't fiction, it was the greatest financial crime spree in American history. Picture this. It's 1986, and a man in an expensive suit stands before a room full of eager business students at UC Berkeley. His name is Ivan Boesky, and he's about to deliver a speech that will become legendary.
Greed clarifies. It cuts through. It captures the evolutionary spirit. Greed in all its forms.
Greed is healthy, he tells them. You can be greedy and still feel good about yourself. The students applaud. They have no idea they're listening to one of the biggest criminals in American history. Ivan Boesky didn't just steal money, he stole the future. He had discovered that with the right information, you could predict which companies were about to be bought out, which stocks would soar overnight, which deals would make millionaires out of anyone smart enough to bet on them. But here's the catch. Getting that information was illegal. It was called insider trading, and it was supposed to be impossible to do on a massive scale. Boesky proved everyone wrong. He built a network of corrupt bankers, crooked lawyers, and greedy executives who would sell him secrets for cash. Not electronic transfers, actual cash. Suitcases full of $100 bills passed hand to hand in parking garages and hotel rooms. One of his sources was a man named Michael Milken, known as the junk bond king. Milken had invented a new way for companies to borrow money. High-risk bonds that paid huge returns but could also destroy entire corporations overnight. Now you understand the real story behind that movie. The greed, the crimes, the men who nearly destroyed America's financial system. But that was only the beginning, because decades later, in a quiet bedroom thousands of miles away, a teenager would watch that very movie and take its message further than anyone ever imagined. This is the story of the boy who would bring Wall Street to its knees. His name was Navinder Singh Saro, but everyone called him Nav. He was 17 years old, living in his parents' house in Hounslow, a working-class neighborhood where planes roared overhead every few minutes. His father found work driving buses through London's crowded streets, navigating traffic jams and difficult passengers while dreaming of a better future for his children. Nav's mother, Sushma, cleaned offices at night, scrubbing floors in buildings where people made more money in an hour than she made in a month. They were good people, honest people, who believed that hard work and following the rules would eventually pay off. But Nav was learning different lessons. Nav was in his bedroom, bored and channel surfing, when he stumbled across Wall Street on television. He had never seen anything like it before. Men in expensive suits making millions of dollars with a single phone call, wielding power that could destroy companies or create fortunes overnight. But it was Gordon Gekko's speech that truly captivated him. Greed is good. The character said with absolute conviction, greed is right, greed works, greed clarifies, cuts through, and captures the essence of the evolutionary spirit. Nav began studying everything he could find about finance and trading. While his friends were worried about exams and university applications, Nav was learning about stock markets, currency trading, and the mathematical patterns that seemed to govern how money moved around the world. But Nav had a special talent that set him apart from other wannabe traders. He was incredible at recognizing patterns and predicting human behavior. In 2003, when Nav was 24, he saw an advertisement that would change his life. A small brokerage firm was looking for trainee traders, and they were willing to hire people without university degrees. All they wanted was intelligence, quick thinking, and the ability to work under pressure. Nav applied immediately and aced the interview. Within weeks, he was sitting in a small office in London, learning to trade something called futures contracts, essentially bets on where prices would be in the future. It was like nothing he had ever experienced. Numbers flashing on screens, traders shouting across the room, fortunes made and lost in seconds. While his old friends were at university, going to parties, and dating, Nav was in his childhood bedroom every night, studying charts and graphs, learning the psychology of markets. His parents worried about his social life, but Nav didn't care. He had found something more addictive than any drug: the rush of being right about the market and watching money appear in his account. And he was very good at it. But there was a problem. Legitimate trading had limits. The profits were constrained by regulations, by unpredictable market movements, by forces beyond his control. Nav wanted more. He wanted Gordon Gekko money, the kind of wealth that could transform his life overnight. That's when he discovered the underground world of online trading forums, where ambitious traders shared strategies that existed in the shadowy areas between legal and illegal. It was on one of these forums that Nav met someone who would change his destiny forever. The person used only a username and never revealed their real identity, but they claimed to have developed something revolutionary, a way to manipulate market prices using fake orders. The concept was brilliantly simple. You would place massive orders to sell thousands of contracts, making it look like someone with enormous resources was about to dump their position and crash prices. Other traders, seeing these huge sell orders, would panic and start selling their own positions. As fear spread through the market, prices would fall. And then, just before your fake orders were actually executed, you would cancel them and buy contracts at the artificially low prices. It was called spoofing, and it was completely illegal. But it was also incredibly profitable. Nav was fascinated. This wasn't just trading, it was psychological warfare conducted through computer code. It was exactly the kind of pattern exploitation that had made him so successful at online games, but applied to markets worth trillions of dollars. Working with his mysterious contact, Nav began developing his own version of the spoofing bot. Night after night, he coded and tested, refined and improved, creating an algorithm that could outsmart some of the most sophisticated trading systems in the world. The first time he used it, Nav made more money in a single day than his father had made in years. He realized he had discovered something that could make him incredibly wealthy. But Nav's bot was learning too, evolving, becoming more aggressive with each trade. And like its creator, it was getting greedier. May 6, 2010, started like any other day in the Saro household. Nav's parents left for work, his father to drive buses, his mother to clean offices. They had no idea their son was about to become the most notorious financial criminal in modern history. Upstairs in his childhood bedroom, surrounded by the same posters and video games he had grown up with, Nav was preparing for what he thought would be another routine day of trading. But the American stock market was nervous that day. There were rumors of financial trouble in Europe, and investors were on edge. It was the perfect environment for Nav's spoofing algorithm to thrive. At exactly 2:32 p.m. Eastern Time, Nav activated his bot and placed the largest fake order of his career, contracts worth over $4 billion. What happened next shocked even Nav. The American stock market didn't just react to his fake orders. It went completely insane. Algorithmic trading systems, programmed to respond instantly to large orders, began selling frantically. High-frequency trading computers started buying and selling to each other at incredible speeds, creating a feedback loop of panic that spiraled totally out of control. The Dow Jones Industrial Average began falling like a stone. 100 points, 200, 500. Companies worth billions of dollars were suddenly trading for the price of candy bar. Lobster and Gamble, one of America's most stable corporations, went from $60 per share to 1 penny in seconds. Nav watched in fascination and growing horror as his computer screen filled with red numbers. Every stock, every index, every measure of American economic health was crashing simultaneously. $1 trillion in market value was evaporating in real time, and he was the one who had triggered all. On trading floors across America, professional traders stood in stunned silence, watching their screens in disbelief. CNBC anchors struggled to explain what was happening. Government officials prepared for the possibility that the markets might never reopen. For 5 terrifying minutes, the global financial system teetered on the edge of complete collapse. And in his bedroom in Hounslow, a boy who had been inspired by 3 words from a movie watched as those words nearly brought down the world economy. The recovery was almost as dramatic as the crash. Within 20 minutes, most stock had returned to their previous levels. The official explanation was a fat finger error. Someone had accidentally entered a massive trade. But the real cause remained a mystery. Nav had done it. He had achieved what Ivan Boesky and Michael Milken could only dream of. He had single-handedly manipulated the entire American stock market, and no one even knew his name. But that was about to change. The investigation began immediately. Teams of forensic accountants, computer experts, and federal agents worked around the clock, analyzing billions of data points, trying to understand what had caused the flash crash of 2010. For 5 years, the investigators followed digital breadcrumbs through layers of complex trading data. The trail eventually led them across the Atlantic, to London, to Hounslow, to a house where a young man was moving billions of dollars with the click of a mouse. The arrest came at dawn on April 21st, 2015. Nav was handcuffed in his pajamas in front of his parents, charged with fraud and market manipulation on a scale that prosecutors called unprecedented. The boy who had believed that greed is good was about to learn the price of that belief. Nav was sent to prison. Prison was nothing like he had imagined. One morning, Nav woke to find his cellmate had hanged himself during the night. That death haunted Nav in ways he couldn't explain. It forced him to confront a question he had been avoiding. Was he really the criminal mastermind that prosecutors claimed, or was he just another young man who had been seduced by the same promises that had destroyed men like Ivan Boesky decades before? The answer came when government prosecutors offered him a deal. They would reduce his sentence if he helped them understand how modern market manipulation worked, if he shared his knowledge to help prevent future crashes. Nav realized something that shocked him. He wasn't just a criminal, he was a teacher. The techniques he had developed were being used by others around the world. His spoofing algorithm had inspired copycats who were manipulating markets every single day. In the end, Nav served only a portion of his sentence. But the real punishment wasn't the time behind bars. It was the knowledge that he had become exactly what the Wall Street movie had warned against. Today, Nav works with regulators, helping them catch traders who use the techniques he pioneered. He has become the hunter instead of the hunted, using his knowledge to protect the same markets he once attacked. But late at night, when he's alone with his thoughts, Nav sometimes wonders, was he really the only one to blame? In a world where algorithms can execute millions of trades per second, where markets can be manipulated by anyone with enough intelligence and determination, how many others are out there right now? How many other teenagers are watching Wall Street tonight, hearing those 3 words, and wondering what they might accomplish if they really believe that greed is good? The cycle never ends, because some ideas are too dangerous to die, too profitable to ignore, too seductive to resist. And somewhere, right now, the next Navinder Singh Saro is being born. I hope you enjoyed this video. We share exciting stories like this every single week. So if you liked it, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe to stay tuned for more. Until next time, have a wonderful day or a lovely evening wherever you are in the world.